he know everything about that deer's life for like the last 2 or 3 years. Just him growing up, shooting the antler, getting big antlers, and once you finally shoot it, you know everything about that animal for the past 5 years. And there's an awesome connection in that, and it shows a lot of reverence too when you make awesome meals out of it versus going to the grocery store. You know nothing about the animal.
All right, what is up, everybody? Have a super cool guest here at Vortex today, visiting from the great state of California. We have Mr. Gerard Masih. Gerard, I hope you're okay with that title, super cool guest. We're stoked to have you here. This is going to be a fun one, man. We've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me. I'm stoked. First time here. It's awesome so far. Looking forward to meeting everybody and, just having a good time.
Yeah, for sure. Nope, I think we've got that. Dialed up in spades. So, let's just jump right in. You have a cool background, a unique background. So maybe tell us, the listeners a little bit about yourself, and what you got going on and where you came from.
Yes, I'm a first-generation Pakistani American. So I was born in Pakistan in the Punjab region. Moved to America when I was 9 years old. Pretty much for religious persecution reasons. So the whole family migrated to America. My dad's a nurse. So he came out here, started working as a nurse, and we've been here since 93 now. Yeah. Dude,
that's crazy. So, I mean, you definitely have, some memories like from that time in Pakistan then?
I do have quite a few memories from Pakistan. Actually, when I was in Pakistan, my parents moved to Kuwait. So went to the first Gulf War. So,
wow.
Yeah, so my brother was 3 days old, and it's a whole story behind that. My dad was a nurse, so they wouldn't let him leave the hospital because he was treating all the wounded soldiers. My mom, she just had my brother. He was 3 days old. So we left the country. My mom took me and my brother on a bus. There was no flights leaving the country. So we went from Kuwait to Pakistan on the road, and then eventually migrated to America. So.
That's crazy, man.
Have you hit it right in the beginning, man?
I know, right? So, yeah. And then you guys landed in Cali then?
In Cali, yeah. So we moved out here in California. My dad's sister was out here that sponsored us. So we've been living in Southern California ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was that transition like for you then? Was it like, oh my gosh, we're here, or was it like, oh, there were still like tough things about that, or?
It was a good transition because we moved out here. We already have family out here, so my cousins and stuff were my age. They were already out here, so it was a good transition, and it was good going from a country that you really persecuted into a place where you really welcomed in. So it was an awesome experience coming here. Language barrier was there in the beginning. But you learn how to, when you go to school and you're young, you pick everything up quick. So it was a good transitional process to migrate out here.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah.
So, and then when you were in Pakistan, like, was there a hunting culture there? Did you hunt there? Did your family hunt there at all?
Yeah. So I was too young to hunt out there. But my dad, he grew up hunting. So my dad and his brothers and his dad, they went out hunting. Hunting out there is a little different. It's a third world country. So getting cartridges and stuff or shotguns and stuff are pretty expensive. So what they used to do is they used to use a lot of pellet guns. And they used to hunt with that. So a lot of upland game out there. There's a lot of quails, a lot of partridges, a lot of duck hunting out there. And another way they also hunted out there is that they would have 2 bird dogs. And they were basically just like one out here, but so the dogs will point, and then 2 hunters will go on the other side where the birds are pointing, the dogs are pointing, and they will flush the birds, and the 2 hunters will have nets, and they will catch the birds in that. Yeah, so it's pretty wild, different tactics of hunting out there than it is out here, basically because of, sources and stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So how did that translate to when you got to America as far as like, did you, when you were in Pakistan, like you had, maybe some of that desire, you were exposed to hunting and you're like, oh, that's certainly something I want to pursue if I can, or how did that develop for you?
Yeah, so, migrating your whole, on my dad's point of view, migrating the whole family to America and starting all over, you're starting your nursing career all over again, hunting is something that gets thrown into the back burner, right? So you basically focus on surviving your family, providing for them and everything. So I don't really hunt when I came out here, and I was too young when I hunted in Pakistan. but my bedtime stories were all about hunting.
No
right?
way.
Yeah, so my dad always talked to me about hunting and fishing and just camping and stuff. So those memories always stayed with me, right? So, so when I grew up, around 26, after I got done with school and my career, I was into my career. I talked to my cousin Asher, talked to him about, hey man, this is something we should look into. My parents always did it. I'm always been, excited about going into hunting. So from what we knew, we ended up buying pellet guns because that's what, my dad hunted with. So when we got those pellet guns, we actually took them out to the shooting range to just sight them in. And at the shooting range, I was sitting there, trying to sight my gun in. I heard a big bang right next to me. I was like, dang, dude, what are you shooting? The guy next to me, he was actually getting ready to go to Africa, and he was sighting in his elephant gun.
Oh my gosh!
And I was sitting there with a BB gun, trying to blinking away. So I definitely had like humble beginnings coming up in hunting, and just going to the shooting range more, finding more about hunting and what it all takes. So took our hunter safety course. Me and my cousin did it together, and that's how we got into hunting. And hunting was something that people. Now with the social media, it's a little different. You get to meet so many people, you get to network and stuff. But back then, it wasn't, it was more like traditional family. Everybody kept their family tradition, and were you hunting, close knit, didn't tell nobody about it. So that's something that we had to learn and kind of figure out. And, one of my buddies, Mike Liard, he took me out hunting for the first time, which was chukar hunting. So he took us out chukar hunting, and, chukar hunting in California open, it's like, 100 degrees outside, and you're running up and down the hill. So
yes,
it was tough, but we just stuck to it.
Yeah, those things are those are devil birds, man.
They are, man.
They can kill them. they can kill a man.
Exactly. So I had humble beginnings. What really got me to hook to hunting was duck hunting.
Okay.
Just first time I went duck hunting with my cousin is just hunting, sitting in the marsh, and before even the sunrise comes up, just looking at all the stars and just looking at the whole galaxy, Milky Way galaxy. You can see on a clear day, just watching the marsh come to life and chirping with the birds or something. It was like amazing, man. And then the first ducks that flew over, because all right, man, go ahead and take the shot. So I got up to shoot, shot them, actually hit them. They dropped, brought them back, and because dude, that's not even a duck, it's a coot. So it was a funny story that I still, hold on to. But just watching the bird, you know what I mean, like hit the bird and watching it hit the water and then sending your dog out for it, that's something that never gets old to me, So that's what really got me hooked into hunting, and it's never been the same, man. It's just, I love hunting birds, I love hunting big game, but still when it comes down to it, I'm a duck hunter, to heart.
Yeah. For sure, it's when you talk about like starting hunting and like that close knit stuff. I always talk about, like, I grew up in Washington State, and I grew up in a hunting and fishing family. Like, I'm, like, super fortunate and feel blessed by that because, like, it's all I've ever wanted to do.
Right.
But also, that was the only people that I knew that did hunt and fish. Like, it was me, my dad, my brother, my grandpa.
Right.
Like, nobody at my school did it. Like, maybe a couple kids, but I didn't even know that they hunted, right? So it's like, it's even difficult. Like, I can't even imagine not growing up. If I didn't grow up in it, I don't know who I would have even reached out to if I had an interest. That can be super challenging. Right.
It is, yeah. And then just getting into hunting, man, there's also there's a, if you can be honest with it, hunting is basic in America. It's a white, predominantly male sport, right? So grow up in California, it's such a melting pot of diversity. You know what I mean? You never really feel like you're left out. But when I got into hunting, that's the first time I'm like, oh my God, dude! Like, I would try to talk to people. They'll just look at you, and I'm like, dude, what's up, right? Until one of the guys said, hey, man, honestly, it's because I hate to say it, but it's the color of your skin. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times, like, people associate like people from different countries by not following the laws. You know what I mean? So they look at you in a negative connotation. But so that's a big reason they really didn't talk to me, you know what I mean, or tell me anything about it. So it's something that I had to learn over time and just learn everything on my own. And now I get called out, because I am Pakistani and, my citizens are so different, you know what I mean? So it came around full circle, just sticking to who I really am to the core. And that really brings, people to you, as long as you're honest and everything about everything,
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, and that's super interesting. And like you said, just like stick do you and like,
Yeah.
you know, let people know that you're a good person, you know, like,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. I think that can take, like, I think about that even with just like me and like hunting or maybe like sharing a spot or something like that. Because I don't know, like personally, like I do, like you work hard for those things, like
Right.
they're very special places to you, so
Right.
you guard them pretty closely,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely understandable. Yeah.
But so like, you know, like even for me, like building that trust with somebody, it's like, okay, yeah, I can take this person here because I know that they're not going to be like, you know,
Burn out the
broadcast
spot.
it to the
Right.
world or whatever, you know.
Right.
But yeah. So and then, what's the food component? Appears to be like a very strong driver for you.
It definitely is, man. I think food, like we're talking about earlier, food is something that everybody can relate to, right? And I think growing up in Southern California, hunters are not really looked at something that's a positive thing, right? It's a really negative connotation on hunting. I think the big thing about that is because everybody puts hunters and poachers in the same category, which is far from the truth.
Yep.
Right. As hunters, we spend the most energy into preserving conservation for the animals, keeping up the habitat, but nobody really understands that. All people think is we're just going out to kill, right? And I think food is something that can really bridge the gap in between that and really educate people that it's not the case, right? So food is something that everybody can relate to. You know, like for me, for instance, I'm happy I eat. When I'm sad, I eat. When I'm, you know, celebrating, I eat. I eat all the time, and a lot of people do that as well. So it's a good way of me to bring people on board and help them kind of even just bring up hunting and talk about it and show it from the positive point of view that it is. You know, the conservation part of it, and I think that the gap also between the hunter and then the animal itself, it really bridges that gap. You know, it really shows people that we do respect the animal. I think the best way to respect the animal is make an amazing meal out of it and get everybody around the table, right? I think that's the best way to show respect to the animal. And you know, that's something that we're missing nowadays because the concept of hunting is that you're taking a life to sustain yours, right? And that concept a lot of people don't understand and think there's a lot of disrespect in that, right? Even though we're called, you know, to, you know, basically take care of the animals that are around us. You know, if you look at a spiritual point of view, you know, having dominion over the animal doesn't mean that you're just, you know, having ruling over them. It means like taking care of them, you know, preserving the land, you know, preserving the herds so no diseases spread out in it. And that's, you know, it's done through hunting, but a lot of people don't understand that. And I think the best way to do it is through food. And then in food, it just opens up the doors for just even bringing my own culture into it. Right, so like India is a land of spices, right? And I love bringing different spices and introducing people to a different way of cooking and also different way of eating it because most of the time now it's like wild game, you have bacon around it, right? And that's what everybody's doing. So I think to helping hunters open up their view of food and what they can do with it, and there's so many different ways of eating it and enjoying that meal. It's just something that I love to do, right? I feel like what colors do to the eyes is what spices do to the tongue.
Yeah.
Right? So as soon as you take a bite of it, like, boom, the spices and like, the spices, like, and you can't just take spices and put them all together. They all have to marinate, you know, and have to go well. Something has to go well. It's just like a science almost, right? It all has to marry together. So that's something that I love to show because just in the region of India and Pakistan itself, we had so many different empires that took over that kind of left their culinary scales there, right? So just India in itself, you should be taken by the Mughal Empire, right? The Persian Empire, the British Empire, and all those empires that left their different kind of culinary arts.
Just like a stamp of,
Yeah, so they all left that. So it's like so much different varieties and spices and stuff, right? And all those empires, they had kings and queens and stuff. So after the British left, and then it was just India and Pakistan separated in 1942, all those royal chefs, they were left jobless, right? So they didn't have any jobs. And that's when, like, food from the royal table was available to the common man of the street, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so that right there, and then we have such a rich of, like, food culture out there, and I love bringing that in the wild game aspect of it, right? Just making, like, tandoori venison, right? or making like seed kebab, right? Or, like deer korma. All those foods were like rich food that the kings and stuff you see. And now like everybody has access to that, right? And bringing that into America and bringing that to the wild game, it's just something that I love to do, man.
Dude, that is so cool. Yeah, when you said spices are like, color to your eyes, like that just 100% like just resonated with me. That's a really interesting take on that, but like the spices, that's the vibrant, that's the pop.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool, man. When you were talking about, just perceptions of hunting, that's a tricky one, right? Because that's an education component, and like you said, I think exposing people to good food is like that's just like the best way, or one of the best ways like a person can understand it. And also we're fighting a battle of people who are actively engaged in perpetuating some of those misconceptions, right? Like as far as like, oh, hunters are lazy, hunters are slobs, they're just out there killing, they're just leaving it, they're just trophy hunters. And it's like, whoa, pump the brakes. And if that was the only messaging that I ever received, I'd probably be against it too. It sounds terrible.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
But it's not that way, and it's cool that you're doing some stuff and able to, open people's eyes that way. And it's a delicious way to do it. You think about, like you said, like, what do we have all in common, right? Like we all eat, right? Like when you think about any holiday that you celebrate, like kind of what's one of the centerpiece or focal points of that day? It's the meal.
It's
like
a meal.
Everybody's gathering around the meal. So, and I feel like, hunting can be the same way. You can, if you take somebody hunting, you can, prepare that meal with them and like open their eyes to like, oh, wait a minute, like, this is food. Like, it's just food. Like, when I look at it on my plate, maybe when I was thinking about hunting before, I thought about it this way. But when I look at it on my plate, it's this beautiful dish. It tastes great. And that's what I do every day. Like, it's almost like no different. In fact, it's just better.
A lot more nutrition value, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people nowadays are trying to understand that,
mm-hmm.
right? And we're trying to head down that route where, like, you want to know where your food comes from. As a hunter, we know exactly where our food comes from, especially, like, in the Midwest, you have, you have cameras and, like, you scout and you know everything about that deer's life for, like, the last 2 or 3 years. Just him growing up, shedding the antler, getting big antlers. And once you finally shoot it, you know everything about that animal for the past 5 years. And there's an awesome connection in that, and it shows a lot of reverence, too, when you make awesome meals out of it versus going to the grocery store. You know nothing about the animal. And if anything, the animal is treated a lot worse than a free range and a deer that's, meant to be lived, how it's supposed to be lived, versus like a cow or, any chicken that's caged up, right? So there's a lot more connection in between that, and I think that's how food should be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's more connection, and there's just more understanding of the natural world. Like, you learn, like, oh, a deer behaves like this. A deer needs this to survive. This is, they, when they're this time of year, they're acting like this, and this is what their needs are versus this time of year. Like, you kind of learn everything about that animal. I like I said, in an effort to like understand them, but also like they're just infinitely interesting at the same time.
They are, yeah.
So, or deer or elk or, quail or whatever. Like, I mean, I always say, like, as a hunter, you become like an amateur biologist.
It's true. It's true.
And, that's super cool. And I think, you're talking about, which I don't want to, like, not anti-grocery store. I'm not anti, like, I think those, like, in modern society, like, we need those things. That's just how things are right now. But it's easy to forget, and it's easy to have that disconnect when you go through the grocery store and there's just, endless meat or endless fish or whatever. And it's easy to forget that it, like, one day had a face too. Right. It's just like this almost this inanimate thing that you eat and you cook and you buy and you purchase it. It comes in cellophane. It's easy to forget, its story too.
Right. Because, every animal does have a story. And like you said, we study so much about it, just even for ducks. Like, I'm a duck hunter. Just the way that they migrate, they come down from the north. When it freezes over, the water runs out, the food runs out, they migrate south. Just that process of knowing and watching during the duck season, I'm always watching the weather.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay, it snowed up north. They're going to push them down south. You watch the moon phase. You know what I mean? You know, which ducks migrate. The teal migrate faster than the puddle ducks, you know?
Right.
So you learn so much about the animal and so much goes into it. It's not just going out and killing, right? Like most people think. And I think it's really awesome that, you know, we educate people on that and, you know, just give them a little glimpse of what it is. And not just that's just all the money that goes into it, all the habitats that it saves. And, you know, the local refuge that I hunt is San Jacinto. And the guy out there, Tom, is just talking to that guy is amazing, man. All the stuff that he plants and what the duck needs when they migrate and what they need to eat to keep the fat content up. It's amazing, man. You almost do become like a mini biologist, like you said. You know, it's awesome, you know?
Yeah, like, and it's interesting because it could be, I think it could be easy for a person to make the connection like, okay, you're doing those things just because you want to shoot them, right? Like you're kind of becoming this caretaker in some capacity because, well, you just want to shoot more ducks. Like it's this self-serving thing, which in some ways it is, right? You know, but in a lot of ways it isn't because you care about the population as a whole, right? Like you care about these animals. And have a connection to them in a different way than a person who would, and if they didn't hunt, or they're likely to never know anything. Right. Like you brought up something, the teal migrate first because of XYZ. Like, if you don't hunt, you're probably not going to know that.
Not gonna know that.
That's a really cool thing to know. And I think as a hunter, you forget what you know about wildlife. You know?
And it's also teaching that to your kids, you know, because that's eventually, honestly, what you want is like, for them to have a better, you know, opportunity that you had. You know, that's everything in life, but also goes for hunting. You want them to have more ducks, you know, than you did. And what it takes to get there is the conservation process. Mm-hmm. You know, so it goes hand in hand. You're just leaving the place better than you found it. You know, it just goes back to that. You know,
what are some things that, like, you know, I guess getting back to, like, you know, your hunting origin, like what were some things that you like are standout things that you learned along the way that were like not necessarily like, you know, like tough lessons, but those things that you only are going to learn like because you did it?
I think just bringing the culture into hunting. You know what I mean? It's okay. I think just the way that hunting kind of brings the whole family together for me. Okay. Right? So my dad is he's older now, he's not able to hunt. Right, so me making him part of the hunt is like when let's say I shoot an animal or I shoot a duck and I bring it home, and then he helps me pluck it. You know, he helps me butcher it up, and you know we cook it up. My mom cooks it up, or I cook it up, and the whole family come around there. It's like the connection that my dad lost, you know, with his son going up hunting and stuff through the migration process to America. It all kind of gets brought back because like now we're doing it, you know, enjoying it through the duck other shot. So just bringing the whole family together, having my dad enjoy it, is bringing all that together. And I think that's something amazing that, you know, kind of brings the whole culture and, you know, everything together just through the duck that I shot. Yeah. You know, which is so much more than just a duck. It's so much everything goes behind it, you know? So.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, you know, to hear what you talked about earlier as far as like, it's like, you know, you guys, you migrate here, like, you know, your dad is like, you know, hey, I got to support my family. Like, you know, hunting's going to take a back seat, but still, you know, you're talking about, you know, your bedtime stories are like, it was like that important to him and such, you know, so positive to him that like, those are your bedtime stories, you know? And so for you to be hunting now, it's awesome to hear. Like, it's like, yeah, you bring something home, but like your dad is part of the hunt again. Like he's plucking it, he gets to see it, he gets to touch it, you know, and then also, you know, be part of the process when you guys see and eat that final meal together. Right. That's super neat.
And then it's showing my kids what the animal means. You know what I mean? Not just the shooting sense of it. So it's passing on that, you know, generation to generation. You know, just a reverence for the animal, what hunting means. You know, so and all that's done through just a duck that I just shot. Right. Yeah, so it's awesome. And then also adding just the traditional values of like the way we cook things. So, you know, I'm learning a lot of stuff from my mom, her recipes that she learned from her mom, you know what I mean? And just the spices, how to blend them together, how to cook them up, and when to add this spice, when not to add this spice. And it's just, it's still keeping our culture alive in a way, right? And it's done through hunting, just through the animal and cooking and everything. So it all kind of, you know, goes well together.
What was the like? Was hunting the catalyst for your passion for cooking and learning some of these more traditional ways, or did those kind of like happen, congruently, or?
Well, I love eating, right?
Yeah.
I love eating, but just and I love eating, but I didn't really love cooking. Right?
Okay.
So there's a big difference, right?
Right.
So, but when I shot an animal, I wasn't gonna shoot it and not eat it, right? So it kind of forced me into like, okay, how to butcher it up. That's the first thing you do. How to clean it. I learned that from my dad, and then adding my mom into it. Okay, now I got this protein. How am I gonna cook it up? What am I gonna do with it? You get tired of just wrapping bacon around it, or cream cheese. You want to do something different, and that's where like my mom's culinary side came in, and she kind of taught me what to do, how not to do it, how to do it. My wife kind of helped me a lot with that too. She's like, okay, let's do it this way. Let's try it this way. And that's where cooking really, took off for me, was from, started off from hunting,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What you were talking about, like, the food and the spices and some of the history there. Like, what would make a dish like Pakistani though? Like what things, like what types of dishes like are you most commonly cooking, and like what's in them?
Yeah, so I love Pakistani barbecue. So tandoor is kind of what I'm gonna cook with today. Tandoori venison. Tandoor is a clay oven, and it's basically you get skewers of meat.
We have a toaster oven.
Close to a little different from that, but it's a clay oven, and the temperature gets up to like 1,000 degrees quick.
Wow.
Yeah, and you're using you're using mesquite and using different kind of woods to as a heat source. So it gets real smoky, and that's where barbecue is cooked in. So like you take like your skewers or your seek kebab, right? Seek is basically the skewer itself. That's what we call it. And kebab on it could be any kind of cubed meat.
Okay.
So let's say you take a venison backstrap, or so you cube them up and you marinate it. So in Pakistan our barbecue is really the basis of it, like a traditional American. We put mustard on it just to base all the seasoning stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
Back home, we use a lot of yogurt. So plain yogurt, and you add your different kind of spices, your coriander, you add your celery seeds, you have your cumin, you add your cayenne pepper, salt, and a lot of garlic. We love garlic out there. So you get all those ingredients, put it in a plain yogurt, right? Let you marinate that. And what the yogurt also does, it breaks down the protein.
Okay.
It tenderizes, uses as a tenderizer. And it gives it really, and then when you put it in the tandoor or a clay oven, it really catches that smoke. So it gets real smoky and real juicy. And then you use, I don't know if you heard of naan bread.
Yeah.
You have, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So naan bread, you know what it is, real flaky. And you also cook that on a tandoor. And then you do a garlic naan bread, and then you get that skewer and you get the cubed meat that you just cooked up in all the spices. And it's just amazing, man. Just a little hint of lemon on it. Just, mots down into water ready.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I like to do a lot of so right now I use Traeger.
Mm-hmm.
So I use just to emulate the smokiness from the tandoor itself, and I use that to get the smokiness. And I love smoke. I think smoke is also an ingredient a lot of people don't think about, but smoke is an ingredient, and I love like smokiness of the meat. And I think it just goes really well together. I think as long as you treat your meat right, a lot of people say wild game is gamey. I think if you take care of an animal right away, you open up the cavity, you let all the heat out, you cool it down right away, you brine it, right? It gets all the blood out of it, you infuse salt and stuff in it, all your aromatics, like rosemary and, peppercorn and stuff like that. And you take care of the meat, all the gaminess does go away, right?
Yeah.
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 So.
I mean, yeah, like that. I mean, literally the separation is in the preparation there, and that, like you said, it starts with getting that meat cool and taken care of, and
right.
and then also cooking it in a way that's going to complement perhaps like the fat content of that meat or something, so you don't overcook it, or I guess in some cases like bear meat or something like that, you don't want to undercook it. But right. Yeah. So one thing, like what you described there. Like, it sounded so absolutely amazing, but also like not like super complex. Like sometimes you'll see like, like a wild game. Well, here's one thing I also think I see oftentimes with wild game, like, oh, this is a wild game recipe or whatever. But I think the cool thing about like what you're doing is like, well, this is just a recipe. We're just using wild game. Like it's meat,
right.
Like we're just going to do this dish with it. And oftentimes I think you see like you're talking about, which, yeah, hey, I got nothing, no hate towards, a bacon wrapped piece of, deer meat or a popper delicious. Or whatever. They're great, right?
They're delicious, yeah.
Fun at parties, let's, go hammer down. But, there are definitely ways that you can step outside of that. And sometimes what I see people do is like, it's like almost so complex. It's like, oh, where from a, time or logistics or ingredients that, might be difficult to find or have on hand or whatever. Like, it's like that could be a deterrent from enjoying wild game, stepping outside of maybe some of those more, common ways that we consume it that are all great. Like I do it all the time, right? But getting back to the recipe you just described, like it sounded so good and it's like so many good flavors and just like this flavor explosion in your mouth, but it didn't sound like super complex at the same time.
And I think that's a lot of people think like good food is intimidating to make. It's really not. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can go to a fancy restaurant and you get some food and it looks like a science project and like, protein like this big, like,
right.
But, something you can do at home and something that everybody could enjoy. It doesn't have to be intimidating. It doesn't have to be so many spices put in there. Like, honestly, my tandoori spice is 4 spices. That's it.
Right.
But you did go really well with wild game. So it's just, finding out what kind of seasoning goes well with what kind of protein. And you take the 4 seasoning, marinate it in yogurt, and break it down. It's an amazing meal. It just tastes amazing. It doesn't have to be something fancy. It doesn't have to be something, over the top. It's just finding out those right seasoning, putting them together, and just enjoying it,
Yep. We're doing a little thing today. You got something literally, well, maybe not cooking right now, getting ready to cook right now. Is that the tandoori then? Is that what you're making
It is, yes. Yeah, so today I'm making smoked hummus with tandoori venison backstrap and grilled vegetables. So, and honestly, that tandoori rub that I have, 4 ingredients. That's it.
It's awesome.
And it just, the next ingredients will be smoke. And that's all it takes, But it just putting them all together in a way where, you can just enjoy it. And it doesn't have to be intimidating. You just do it once and just simple 4 ingredients. I think we got in the recipe in that blog that we might come out with. And people look at it and think, okay, it's not too bad. And once you start doing it, and after that, you can just add your own spices to it. What do you like more? What do you like less? You know what I mean? You don't have to stick to the recipe itself, but just making it your own,
Yeah, I think, and I don't cook a ton, right? But I think, and oftentimes when I cook, like, I'm just kind of like, put it in. Like the measuring utensils don't come out all the time, but generally, like when I make something for the first time, like I like follow the recipe. I'm like, okay, so this is what's recommended. But like you said, like then after that, it's like, I like a little bit more of this.
Right, you add your own touch to it.
Or this is, it's like you can be like, oh, it's actually not like super critical. Like you can just, massage the recipe like how
right.
How you like it.
However you like it. I think that's the best thing about food, man. Just make it the way you like it. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's so many different variations you can do. It's amazing, man.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that. So a lot of that deer meat actually. So I raided my freezer. So I'm excited.
Okay.
That's from a buck that I shot with my bow last fall. So I'm stoked to see that. Yeah. I guarantee it's going to probably be better than what I would have made with it. So I'm pumped about it. And it's actually for the listeners, it's something what we're doing today with that meal. So we have a an internal learn to hunt program. So we sent out a survey to people in the company who like have an interest in hunting, but also maybe they don't have that person that we were talking about earlier to kind of be that bridge between that desire or interest and breaking down that barrier of intimidation and providing like a mentor so we can like expose them to the activity. And just like you talked about earlier, Gerard, we sent out that survey, but like step 1 is starting with the food. Let's have kind of like create a social comfortable setting where people can ask questions, where they can taste some deer meat, which I already know is going to be phenomenal. And so I think that'll be super fun later today. When we do that.
Yeah, definitely, man.
I gotta ask. So you're a duck hunter at heart. That's kind of that's your number one then. What I feel like ducks get a bad rap. So what are some things that you're doing with the ducks that you shoot that you're like that they're just turning out off the charts?
So it's a lot of it's trial and error.
Okay.
And honestly, I used to way overcook it, right?
Right.
And it tastes like liver.
Yep.
Honestly, and I think a lot of people who don't like duck meat is because they overcooked it. And I think just learning just to have the cooking where it's not overcooked and it's not undercooked, having that sweet spot, that's what makes duck so good, And I love, I think orange glaze really goes well with duck.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then just adding my spices to a little bit of cayenne, a little bit of coriander to it. It just takes it to the next level. And I love smoking my meats, like I said. So I love doing it that way. Just kind of, I like to make a fusion. So I grew up in Pakistan, so I have all the spices and stuff from there. But also the American side of me that I love, like orange glaze, and I love wine reduction sauces. So I like to mix those two things and, make something amazing meal out of it. And it's just trial and error. You just got to try. You can't be scared to try something. And a lot of the times you learn from all your mistakes. You know what I mean? And that's from my cooking is I learn from a lot of mistakes. Okay, I can't do that no more, but I can do this. And then just over the process, just getting those, meats together and just making like a nice sauce with duck. I think goes really well with it. And that's how I like to make my duck. Yeah.
I love it. What on the cooking side of things, what are there things that you pair with your wild game commonly as far as outside of the centerpiece of the meat? What types of things do you like to make that maybe have that that Pakistani flair that complements it? So
even in my brine, like I'm making a brine today, I like to do different spices. Like I use star anise that I use.
Oh.
Yeah, that I put into my brine.
Okay.
It just fuses well with the wild game. I also like to use coriander. I think coriander has a really nuttiness to it, and it goes really well with wild game, right? And I also like to use celery seeds. Celery seeds has a little bit of bitterness to it, but I think it's not too bitter, but it's just a little hint of it, and it's a little warmth to it, right? And it pairs really well with wild game as well. So I like to use those. I use cinnamon, nutmeg in some of my recipes, so just a variation of things that I like to use. But coriander is one of the ones that I really love using. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm getting hungry. I can tell you that. Golly, that sounds so good. And then, what types of, I'll whatever. If I'm cooking a piece of backstrap here, and I'm pretty simple, right? But I'll be salt, pepper, some garlic powder, cook it to medium rare, and then maybe a sweet potato and a salad, right? That's kind of that'd be a go-to, just and delicious dinner. I love that. It's great, right?
It is, right?
What are there any things that outside of the meat that you're putting on the side? What's your sweet potato?
Yeah, so Middle Eastern and kind of the Indo-Pakistani region. We like to do tomatoes, so grilled tomatoes. They go really well any kind of meat, even with steak. It goes amazing. We also like to use jalapeno peppers. I like to grill those too, get a little real smokiness to it. And if it's too spicy for you, just take the seeds out, right? Also use carrots, and then for us, our mashed potatoes probably will be like hummus, right? So hummus is something in America usually used as a dip. A lot of people use it as dip. But in Middle East, they actually use it with meats. So they have a big bowl of hummus, and then you take your meats and you dip it in that and you eat it that way. So that's kind of what I have set up for today, and which is different from American tradition that's using chips. But hummus is something that we like to use with with meats. So that's kind of a little different what we use. Garlic naan. I love garlic naan. Right, I love using garlic naan with a lot of my meals, or even making garlic naan tacos that I do, or even just getting. So I was talking about fusion earlier. So I even take my buddy shot Mike I was talking about earlier. Took me on a hunt. He shot an antelope, and then I used a lot of the grind from that, made a burger out of it, like a kebab burger. So I put a lot of my spices into it, so made it like a kebab. But the bun that I used was actually a garlic naan bun.
Oh.
So it was just amazing, man. So like I love those fusions, those two fusions that they come together. We have a lot of chutneys. So mint chutneys is something that I use a lot on my recipes and stuff. Plum chutney, a little sweeter, you use that. And then that's not traditional, American traditional, So there's a lot of different things that you can do, that kind of like goes well together. Even the drinks and stuff, I love chai, In Pakistan, traditionally, right after you eat, right after that is you have like a warm drink. And for us, it's chai. So having chais and stuff after a while game and just hanging out with my buddies, talking to them over a cup of chai is something that I love to do, Mango lassis. Lassi is like a yogurt-based drink, and then you add mango to it. And, that's something that always on the side of our meals and stuff. So, real heavy, but it goes well. I made a pheasant tikka masala, which I used. It's amazing. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Pheasant is really good, and it takes on really well flavors from whatever you put in there. So the tikka masala, I use a lot of heavy cream in that, and then also like table cream. So it gives it really like a rich, creamy sauce that comes out of it, and I love that. It's amazing. So we like to garnish a lot of our stuff with just coriander and even cilantro. You know what I mean? And another kind of samak is another seasoning that we use to garnish our dishes and stuff. I'll put that on the hummus today. I don't know if you saw in the picture, it was more like a purplish. I don't know if you saw the picture or not. Yeah. So that goes really well with it. So there's so many different things from that region that you can use and have side dishes and stuff,
Yeah, I mean, just like everything you described sounds absolutely amazing. Like, I mean, I love Indian food. I love Thai food. Maybe I just love food. I don't know. But like you said, it just sounds like, it's like a fusion or a melting pot of like so many different, like amazing, like, flavors and colors. Like a lot of those things that you're describing have a lot of color to them too. So
our culture is really vibrant.
Yeah.
So even a lot of our curries and stuff, making like a venison curry and just a color, the aromatic, the smells and stuff is just amazing, man. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. What's on the docket next for you? Got any hunts coming up that you're excited about?
So I'm actually headed out to Alaska next week. Yeah, so it's my first time going to Alaska. On the 31st, I'm flying out there with my buddy Jake. So it should be fun. So I'm going to fish the Kenai River. Yeah. Never been to Alaska. I'm not a big fisherman because I really don't like fish or any kind of seafood. But I think going out there and catching the salmon, and it's fresh, and I'm really looking forward to the traditional way of cooking it, just like deep frying it and putting all my spices and stuff. So I think after that, I'm going to be more open to seafood and just...
Hopefully, yeah, that's a cool. It's been a long time since I've been to that region of the state, but that's a cool, like, a super neat river. It's gonna be beautiful. Yeah, it should hopefully be chock full of salmon. Yeah, so I think so this is end of July. So is that gonna be predominantly sockeye salmon that you're
sockeye
after?
Salmon? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Other hunts, I'm planning a trip to go to Pakistan. I haven't hunted in Pakistan, but I think it's just a way of bringing everything together.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to hunt in Pakistan. I want to hunt ducks out there, and I don't know if my dad will be able to make it, but I just want to go like where he hunted and where he was from, and just bring all that together, the culture, and bring all that in.
Dude, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it should be a great hunt, man.
That's gonna be big, man. That'll be that'll be a heavy moment. That'll be cool.
Yeah. I want to capture all that on film, so they can come with a cool film after that, and then after that, I want to get people that experience. So once I go out there experience, I want to be able to take my buddies out or anybody who's interested in hunting ducks in Pakistan who wants that experience, because there's a lot of different ducks that are out there. So they migrate down from Siberia when it gets cold. Yeah, so they come to the Pakistan region. So the place where I'm from is called Punjab. Punjab means 5 rivers. Oh, so wow. So there's a lot of marshes out there you can hunt in, and all the ducks come down there, and they basically winter out there. So that should be a really fun hunt. I'm looking forward to that. There's also big nilgai is big out there. Have you heard of nilgai?
So I haven't, but I'd love to.
So nilgai is it's actually the biggest antelope, right? So but because hunting is not regulated as much out there, so the numbers are going down, right? But I had an opportunity to hunt it in Texas, So how they originally got brought to Texas was King's Ranch. It's big in Texas. So they were feeding their workers beef, right? But it was kind of productive to it because that's what they were, So what they did was they bought nilgai from a local, from a local circus. And the nilgai tastes amazing, and it was cheaper for them. So they had a lot of nilgais, but they got out. So now there's more nilgai in Texas than there are in India and Pakistan. So that's one of the another things I want to do, another hunt that I want to go hunt them in Texas, South Texas. I want to hunt it out there and then just basically cook it up in a traditional way because the numbers are developing and coming lower and lower in Pakistan. So instead of me traveling 3,000 miles, more than that, to go to Pakistan, I can hunt them in Texas and just cooking it up in a traditional way. I want to make, so we have in Pakistan, it's called a dig, and it's a big pot, almost like a witch's pot. And they, for weddings and stuff, they cooked in that. So I was talking about the royal families and stuff. So they were using traditionally big pots or wood, and they're cooking in that. So I want to get the nilgai. I want to cook it in that because I have one of those big pots at home. I want to cook it in that. So make like a korma. Korma is basically it's like a curry-based sauce.
Okay. So
real creamy, real heavy. So I want to cook it in that, and then I want to make garlic naan, from scratch, and then eat that. So it'll be like an animal that's native to Pakistan. It's in America, but cook it in a native Pakistani way. So those are some of the things that I want to get into, that I want to do, and hopefully I can do it this year, if not in early next year.
Oh, that'd be super cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a nilgai. I was hunting, I was fishing in South Texas, like the most southern part of Texas, many, many years ago. And it was actually kind of like a media type work trip. Yeah, dude, they're so cool.
Yeah.
Dude, their front end, like they're just built different. Like that front end is so crazy. They're such a big animal, and they have just those, I guess, relatively like just tiny little horns.
Yeah, yeah. But their neck and stuff, they're so strong because the main predator that's out there that's hunting them in India and Pakistan are tigers.
Right.
Yeah. So they're, that's where they used to, get hunted by. So their backbones they're actually double. It's like a double jointed backbone. Yeah. So they're super strong animals, and yeah, they're tough, man. They're tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you'd think like, oh, if your job is like warding off tigers, like you need like a big front end and a thick neck,
right? And you saw the neck on that, how thick it was, because that's where a tiger attacks, right?
I think their hide is super thick there too, which probably to ward off tigers or like punctures from their buddies,
Right, exactly. So really cool animal, man.
Yeah, those things are neat. When I was down fishing, which we didn't have time to hunt, but they did have like a feeder out, like it was kind of like adjacent to where we were staying, and they're like, oh yeah, there's a nilgai coming into the feeder regularly. I'm like, can we hunt it? They're like, oh yeah, you could hunt it, and I'm like, I gotta go fishing. But
if you ever get the opportunity again, man, I say you should go do that.
Yeah.
So I have a buddy out there who hunts. If you want to go, let me know. I'll set you up on a hunt, man. It's amazing meat.
Yeah, don't be surprised if I tap you on the shoulder for that, because that'd be.
Hey, let me know.
Yeah, I hear like just nothing but like amazing things about the meat.
Yeah, the meat's amazing, man. I think the closest thing I tasted to beef, and I love beef. So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. Did we? God, it's like there's so many different things we could talk about. What did I miss anything? Is there anything like that you have going on, or just even think passions or pursuits or history that we missed before we jump off here in a little bit?
I think we went over everything. Just I'm a simple guy with a lot of different traditions and values. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Nope, that's awesome, man. Well, I am genuinely looking forward to seeing and tasting some of that later today. I have a feeling everything that you make will go pretty fast. So I'm gonna make sure you make
your way down there.
Make sure you get down there, get in early before it's gone. So. But yeah, man, can't thank you enough for making the trek out here and visiting with us. This is just super fun to have you here, and just we're grateful for it. So thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. It's a big honor. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I know I'm hungry. I know I'm inspired to try some new dishes with some new spices and some new ways and experience the wild game that I have in my freezer in new ways. Hopefully you are too. I'm sure you're hungry out there as well. So, yeah, and like you said, Gerard, we're going to have like a little blog post with this particular recipe. So you can tune into the Vortex blog here and check that out and have all of the tools you need to make it for yourself. Yeah,
and if you guys are looking for more different kind of meals, you guys can find me on Instagram on GMAS101. I'll put a lot of different wild game recipes on there, just hunting pictures. You guys, I love taking pictures, you know, so you guys will enjoy those. So.
Awesome, man. Any other? Is that the best place to find you then? Is on Instagram? Anything
best place
else?
to find me on Instagram. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Check Gerard out. Give him a follow on Instagram. Eat good.
Yes.
And happy hunting and shooting, everybody.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Keep those traditions rolling. Keep getting other new people involved. So, thanks for listening. Thank you again, Gerard.
Yes, sir.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.